Hey, how's it going? This is the Curious Martian, and welcome to this episode where we talk about China and how they are growing seawater rice. China has been struggling to produce enough food to feed its population. In order to make up for the lack, China is now producing seawater rice. What is seawater rice, you might ask? Well, seawater rice is a salt-tolerant form of the rice plant that is able to grow in seawater instead of fresh water. China is a major producer of rice already, and if they can use salt water to grow the rice, it would save them lots of money on the fresh water, and it also helps them alleviate and deal with its rapidly rising population. Just to put in perspective, China is now producing more than 400,000 metric tons of rice per year, which is enough to feed 1.8 billion people. However, China's population is 1.4 billion, which leaves not that much left for the rest of the world, and a team of scientists in China announced that they have developed a salt-tolerant rice that can be grown in seawater, which is a step towards addressing the food security issue that China has. As a country with a rapidly growing population and limited resource, this is a step in the right direction. According to the United Nations, the country's food production is only projected to increase by 30% by the year 2050. And projects like these are sprouting up everywhere in China to try to help tackle the food supply issue. Science and Technology Daily reported that seawater rice farming has nearly doubled to 8.8 tons per hectare last year and further increased to more than 10 tons per hectare in 2022. The results broke previous year's records and set a new mark for salt-tolerant rice. Why might China be trying so hard to combat this? Well, China actually had a food crisis back in 08 and 09, which caused the food prices to spike. However, this time, the authorities in Beijing are taking the necessary steps to ensure that the problem does not occur again. Who might be the scientist that's spearheading this project? Well, their name is Yang Longping, and Yang Longping has about tripled the annual rice output in China since the 1970s. Yuan Longping quotes, "If the area planted with seawater rice can be expanded to 6.7 million hectares, it can produce an additional 30 billion kilograms of rice per year, which is equivalent to the total annual grain production in Hunan province. We could easily feed 80 million more people." Science and Technology Daily reported that as of last year, the planting area for seawater rice is increasing and has reached 400,000 hectares, covering more than a dozen provinces, from Heilongjiang in the northeast to the northwestern region of Xinjiang to the southern China Zhejiang province. However, I do have to call out that salt-tolerant rice is not actually grown in the same way as traditional freshwater rice. The rice has to be planted in higher altitudes and also wetter areas. It has to be grown in areas that are short and sandy and also laced with calcium carbonate, which the soil can get from the salt. So if you live in a coastal town, you can grow salt-tolerant rice easier, which is kind of obvious because you would be next to the sea where all the seawater is. I also want to point out that China is not the first country to use seawater as a major component in their food supply. There are other countries that have also experimented with this method. There have been reports from these other countries that there are some downsides, which includes the rice not being of good quality and it does not taste as good as regular rice. But overall, this is still a very great and innovative way to feed an ever-growing population that scientist Yan started. Yan actually died last year, aged 90, but the work continues with his team aiming to expand the planting area to more than 667,000 hectares this year, raising it to 6.7 million hectares of the currently land to 8 to 10 years. Yan's team have also been trying to promote the seawater rice technology overseas. They've successfully grew rice in the desert outside Dubai with a yield of 7.5 tons per hectare, doubling the global average. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about the seawater rice and the crisis in China, and if they're taking the right steps to address it. And maybe one day we'll see seawater rice all over the place and we'll be eating it from our local supermarkets.